The award-winning and highly respected Culinary Arts program at Joliet Junior College provides world-class learning and hands-on experience that cover all aspects of the culinary industry. Accredited by the American Culinary Federation Education Foundation, JJC's Culinary Arts program provides training for future chefs, pastry chefs, bakers, caterers, restaurant and food service managers, and entrepreneurs. Students learn by working on the latest equipment in state-of-the-art facilities that were built in 2017. JJC's City Center campus features 2 fully functional student-run restaurants that provide students with the ultimate in both back-of-house and front-of-house learning experiences. The Culinary Arts faculty is composed of full-time, multi-certified culinary and hospitality industry instructors with a combined total of over 140 years of industry experience. JJC currently offers an associate degree in culinary arts and 3 baking and pastry arts certificates. Students pursuing a certificate or degree in the Culinary Arts program will learn the relevant skills needed to eventually become a supervisor, manager, or business owner in the culinary and hospitality industry. Visit jjc.edu/journey for more information.
Hello everybody, Chef Mark Muszynski here from Joliet Junior College. Got a great recipe for you today, and things are heating up here at school. We're getting close to the end of our semester, so I really wanted to make sure to let you know we need you to come on in for some lunch on Tuesdays. Chef Paul's got some unbelievable things going on there. We have restaurant week, free appetizers, some free desserts. It's almost over, so I don't want you to miss out. There's also Thursday night dinners down in Thrive. Come on down. I want to say, put a little plug in. I had a little Polish platter, and Chef Mark Muszynski, chef wanted me to taste it. Polish sausage, a nice little pierogi, sauerkraut, delicious. So make sure you come on down before the end of the semester and get some lunch or dinner, okay? Hopefully everybody is doing good. The other thing is, if you're interested in some classes, registration for the fall will be coming up. Maybe we got you excited about cooking and baking. Maybe you just want to take 1 class or 2 classes. Registration will be opening up really soon. Just give us a call at our culinary office. You could even see some videos of our school if you haven't been here before, and we can get you all registered for a class, or even just talk to you about some of the options that are out there. So hopefully we'll talk to you soon. So we are going to make a little bit of pie dough, and we're doing a blueberry brown butter pie. There's lots of pies out there. Everybody likes their apple, their cherry. Maybe during the holidays it's a pumpkin pie or pecan. This one is like my ultimate favorite because it kind of combines a couple different things. It's got fresh blueberries. It's got a nice flaky, crispy crust. The center, though, okay, I kind of like those custard dishes sometimes. This is like a dense custard. And when it's all done, this is really good either hot or cold. You don't even have to put anything else on it. We'll dress it up a little bit today, but just delicious, okay? So we're going to go over a few little things here. We're going to make a quick pie dough, okay? You don't have to make it at home, but if you want to, you can. So I have a mixture of bread flour and cake flour. Again, don't feel like you have to go run out and get special ingredients. If you want to use all-purpose, that's fine. We have about a ½ ounce of sugar in here. Okay, about 1/8 of some salt. A good pinch of salt would be fine. You can get it all in here. And then I do something a little different. Give you another option. I get my butter nice and cold, but this butter I grate it. So I freeze it. I take out the grater on the little bit bigger holes. Just be careful doing it. You know, the first time you do it, I'm like, I don't like doing this. That's okay. If you want to just cut it up with a knife or something, some people will use their hands. There's all different ways of doing it. But you want to get your butter nice and cold. And then we're going to they say we're going to cut the butter in. All right. Okay, so when we're making our pie dough, I'm going to put in all my dry ingredients. So I have my flour, I have a little bit of sugar, a pinch of salt, and then I cut up that butter using the grater, and then you can kind of see that it's kind of crumbly. And here, some people, there's a couple different kind of pie crust. There's like a long flake, really flaky, big chunks of butter, like the size of maybe a quarter or a walnut. If you do a short flake, they call it, that's about the size of a dime or maybe a hazelnut. This is more of a mealy pie dough. It's like more of the all-purpose one. It's good for the bottom crust, so it resists the moisture getting into that, so you still have a nice crispy crust. And that's the one that I like to use. So just kind of get that busted up. Some people say, make it look like coarse meal. And then I'll have people like, mine doesn't look like cornmeal. I'm like, no, not cornmeal, coarse meal. Just kind of smaller pieces, okay? And then we're going to take our ice water. And then I'm just going to kind of drizzle a little bit in. Not all of it at once. Kind of start bringing it together here. And the less you work it, the less gluten development you're going to have, and you're not going to have a tough dough. You're going to have a nice tender dough. Okay, and then I'll take the rest of this. I'm going to use a scraper to kind of get everything in here. I'm using a bigger bowl because sometimes it can get kind of messy. And I'm just kind of folding it over on itself and working it into a dough. After we make this, we're going to want to let it rest. So what's nice is you can freeze this dough, make a bunch up, and then pull it out as you need it. Okay, but plopping dough all over the place here. Okay, so. Just give it kind of a slight knead. Almost together. Now it looks kind of rough. It looks a little rough here, but it'll all come together. And again, depending on how you like your dough, okay, we're going to get this together. Okay, got a big mound of dough here. Then I'm going to just eyeball it. Okay, cut it in half. And again, you may see chunks of butter or fat, whatever you're using. And then I just kind of get it together. Press, press, press. And then I'm going to flatten this, okay, into a nice flat disc. So, a couple reasons. I'm going to make a pie, which is round. And when it's in a disc shape and even, put it in the cooler in case you have to use it that day. It cools down evenly and much faster. Okay? So then I would wrap that in plastic wrap and do the same to this one. Flatten it, wrap it, put it in the fridge. Okay? Put this off to the side. Do a quick little cleanup here. Getting stuff everywhere. That's half the fun. Making a mess. Cleaning up, not so fun. All right. There we go. So, next thing we're going to roll out the dough. I got some made. Let me grab one here real quick. So you can kind of see the dough that I had prepared earlier. Nice flat disc. I would keep that in the fridge. And open up. If it's really, really cold, you may have to just kind of soften a little bit so it doesn't crack. You might see the edges crack a little bit here. So just kind of press that. I got a little extra flour. Evenly dust. Okay. And then lots of times, I'll just use my hand, okay? Turn it over, and it'll slightly warm it so it gets it moving. I don't want it to stick, okay? A little more flour. have to go crazy with the flour, but a little bit. Okay? And we're just working it out into a disc shape. And then we have our pie tin. Okay? So I brought some like reference points here. So these are just some cake circles. So my pie is roughly 8-9 inch. It's a 10 inch, so people think, oh, I'm going to get a 10 inch one that should fit in there. You know, you always have to remember the sides. There's a lot of room on the sides to go down, and then how much crust you want on the outside. So I usually go 12 inch, and then you could always cut it down. Okay? But at least you kind of have an idea of maybe how big. But me personally, you know, if you're making it at home for your family, I don't think they're going to critique like, hey, you know, the crust isn't quite right or whatever. As long as it tastes good, they're going to be happy. And if they're not, then don't make pie for them anymore. Okay? So, so we're going to roll it out. All right? I know that it's not sticking. Kind of even pressure. And go from the center out and start slowly moving it, making sure that it's moving. And then I'll bring it kind of back. Go this way. We want nice even thickness. They say roughly about 1/8 of an inch when you're all done. Okay? If you get it too thick, you know, it might take too long to bake, and then maybe the filling's done and all the crust doesn't get baked all the way. Okay? So some of it's a little bit trial and error. So, and then we try to keep that round shape. If I'm doing, let's say, like an old-fashioned apple pie, we get nice, fresh, tart green apples. Okay? Looking here, it's not sticking, but if you do need a little more, I'll peel them and slice them, core them, and then I'll get my pie crust, but I usually do really nice high edge to it because I'm going to mound those apples in there, and then I like to put like a streusel topping, and then they're going to shrink down, but those sides will kind of hold everything in there. This one, just a regular kind of a side is fine. Okay? And again, not too thick, not too thin, rolling from the center out. Again, if you wanted to kind of use a guide, you know, I'm a little bit bigger than 10 inch, but not quite the 12, so we're almost there. And then try not to make it oval, okay? So then one side will be too long, and the other side will be too short. Okay, looks like we're just about there. And again, the dough is still cold, it's not thickened. I'm going to put that there. I'm just going to do, you don't have to do this, but it makes things look a little bit more equal. Save this crust, you could reuse it. I usually like to let it relax again. I just kind of roughly get it together, press it, and then we'll wrap it, okay? So now that I have my dough, there's my pie tin, kind of center it. Some people might roll it up. If you do that, be careful that it doesn't stick together and then it's stuck on here. So I usually just kind of lift it, slide it under, and plop it in there, okay? And then I center it, okay, like so. Now I need to make sure that it's on the bottom. I lift the crust from the side, and I kind of press right where this bottom meets the side, okay? And just lightly lift. And I want the dough to go more to the inside than stretching to the outside, okay? And we got that. So then I got this extra flap of dough. I'm just going to kind of a quick little tuck. And it sits right on this edge, okay? So that's like I like to have the pie tin with an edge. And there's all different kinds. You know, there's glass ones, different sizes. Some have a darker pan to it, but this is just your regular old pie tin that you would get. Okay. Going around. And you can get fancy with your pie crust if you wanted to, but now we got that. And then I just do this simple little crimp, okay? These two fingers, use my big fat thumb to get in there and make a nice little design, okay? And just push, 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 bing. And again, when this dough is nice and cold, it'll hold the design. When it starts to get soft, the temperature rises on that, then sometimes you have, okay, now we got a beautiful pie crust. Okay? Remember, butter, lower melting point. So if you're working and it's getting hot in here, this might get softer. Before you put it all in the oven, you might want to throw it in your fridge or freezer for a little bit. Okay? That's what I'm going to do with this one. I still have my extra dough that I'll save for another time. Put my stuff away. I always wrap. Clean up. Into the garbage, not on the floor. Okay, so I also brought in some of these mini ones. You know, if you're making pies and sometimes, oh, I have some extra. Well, sometimes just throw a little mini pie together. You know, give it to a friend or a neighbor. And again, you know, blueberries, you're going to see blueberries everywhere. If you see them maybe on sale, you can buy them, put them in the freezer. Okay, and then you could use them later. So our item that we have here is our blueberry brown butter tart. Okay, so it might be a little different than what you're used to. So first I'm going to put some butter in here. I'm going to turn this on to start it to get melted. And if you don't have vanilla bean, that's okay. I love the vanilla bean, but it is expensive. Okay, so that's what the vanilla bean looks like. They should be kind of plump, moist, have a little bit of give to them. You can kind of feel the seeds in there, and that's what we want, are some of those seeds. If you buy a bunch, I usually let them sit in some actual vanilla extract. And again, if you could afford the good stuff, get pure vanilla extract. If you can't and you use the artificial, you know, you do what you can. So on this one, I only need about a fourth. Okay, so I'm going to kind of cut about a fourth of this off like this. Okay, and then I'm going to cut down the. Oh, look at that! You can even see those vanilla beans coming out of there already. Okay, so, but if we cut down the center, and then we open it up, and then I'm going to scrape those beans. Oh, look at that. Love that stuff. I'm going to put this whole thing in here, okay? For some reason it doesn't seem to be heating up like it should, so I'm just going to move it over to this burner. Okay. So when you brown butter, why would I brown the butter? Okay, it gives it like another level of flavor. It brings something a little bit more interesting to the party, if you want to say. It'll kind of bring in that nuttiness. Okay, and basically those milk fats will kind of like caramelize and brown up, and you'll see those little dots down there. So just kind of let it go and melt. Okay, and then be careful when it gets towards the end. You know, if you take it a little bit more brown than usual, that a little more flavor, but you don't always have to put it all into the mix. Okay, so on this one we got some eggs, some sugar. It's a little bit of amount of sugar. Okay, you could always cut down if you wanted to. Okay. Got some going here, and then we're going to mix these two up. A little bit like your regular, like basic custard is usually going to have a milk or a cream or a combination of that. Usually sugar, some eggs, maybe there's an egg yolk in there, and then usually vanilla. Okay, and the eggs will thicken that. So in our classes, we'll make This past week we did, caramel flan or creme caramel. We caramelized the sugar and put it on there. We made our nice mix, put it in the oven, baked it in a water bath. Came out beautiful. And then let it sit overnight, and then the sauce came out because of the caramel that we put on them. We also made some creme brulee. A lot of the students didn't have creme brulee. I think they have a new favorite dessert now. I know it's one of my favorite. Okay, maybe that'll be another one we could do somewhere down the road and show you how to make creme brulee. But this kind of gives a, that custard like feel to it. But there's no dairy in there. There's the butter, obviously, but there's no milk or cream, okay? So now that's melting, and the seeds are kind of floating around. I put the whole bean in there, too, okay? I really want to extract all that flavor out of there, okay? So, and you could tell a big difference. So I had, in class, we were also doing, we did a cheesecake. And the one student never made cheesecake before. He's making it, put vanilla extract, and he's like, "Hey, chef, can I get a little bit of that vanilla bean?" I'm like, "Sure." Put a little bit of that in there, mixed it. He's like, "Oh, it tastes so much better." And it does. And you can actually see those little dots in there, which makes it really good too. Okay? So the whole recipe is basically eggs, sugar, brown butter with the vanilla, and a little bit of flour. Okay? The butter's getting close. You can hear it kind of percolating over here. It's just starting to brown up. Vanilla bean seeds are all floating around in there. You could actually kind of smell that nice vanilla going. Okay. We also did a pineapple upside down cheesecake with one of my students. The whole classroom smelled like caramelized pineapple. Everybody was like, "Oh, it smells so good." So this one here, you could eat it warm. You could eat it cold, okay? You could even freeze it, pull it out later. It's a very, durable pie that you can do a lot of different things with it. So maybe you do a day of baking and then you put a couple away and then you pull them out as you need it when you're entertaining guests or friends or something, okay? Maybe you want to make it Mother's Day's coming up fairly quick. Maybe Mom would like a blueberry brown butter pie, okay? Just starting to brown up. If you were here with me, you could really start to smell it now, okay? So, almost there. And then you got to watch it so it gets kind of close to the end and browning. You don't want to burn it, but it's definitely getting close here. It looks really, really good. Almost. We'll give that about another minute, okay? You could just use your all-purpose flour at home. That's fine, all right? I don't know if you can kind of see this a little bit. But the butter, that golden melted butter, is now turning brown in here, okay? And you can see the little speck. You can really smell the nuttiness now, okay? And it plays off kind of this sweeter concoction. And then the blueberries kind of gives it that little bit of a tartness. So I've never been blueberry picking. But if you do go, then maybe this is a new recipe for you besides blueberry muffins or jam, okay? So this one is done. Okay? I'm going to shut that off, okay? So we got our mix here. I'm going to put in our flour. Make sure there's no lumps. And then once this is done, it's a little bit interesting how this one bakes up, okay? I'll go over that in a second. And now I got our butter, okay? And as you pour it in here, you can kind of see I like to get a little bit of that actual brown butter in there. I'm going to take out the vanilla bean. Don't think that it's burnt. It's not burnt, okay? Just kind of go with it. And if you've never done anything with brown butter, sometimes I know in the restaurant, Chef Paul or Chef Bucci or one of the other chefs, sometimes they'll do like a brown butter sauce with a pasta, okay? That's always really good too, okay? So this is basically our mix, okay? nice, thick. I'm going to get my pie crust that we rolled out. There's our beautiful pie crust. I'm going to take some nice fresh blueberries. Okay. You can kind of pick through them a little bit. Okay. I like to cover the bottom at least. Okay. You could put more or less if you want. If you really like, I really like blueberries. Okay, so if you kind of see with this one here, it's got a good amount, but maybe it's like, you know what, I want a little bit more. That's okay. And then you might be thinking like, well, can I do this with raspberries, blackberries, strawberries? I've tried it, but sometimes that fruit breaks down too much and too much moisture comes out, and I didn't really care for it. Blueberry is it for me. One time when I was working in San Antonio, Texas, we got these fresh huckleberries. Okay, it's like a little miniature blueberry, and I made it with that. That was really good. So I guess if it's something that's similar to a blueberry, then you should be good. And then the only thing you got left to do is pour your mix over here, and it'll cover all the berries. And this makes one pie. Okay. Don't worry if the blueberries might rise to the top here a little bit or something. That's okay, not to worry. And then I usually put this in a 350-degree oven. If you're able to like put it right on the bottom of your oven floor, otherwise you could put it on a sheet pan, put it in there kind of in the middle, and let it go. Okay, it might be in there for a while. Okay, 45 minutes, an hour, maybe even a little bit more, depending on your oven. Okay. But what happens, so I have a whole one here, okay? You might see it kind of crust up a little bit, okay? It might even have like a little negative space in there. That's okay, okay? To me, it adds like a little extra like crunchiness to it. But when is it done? That's the tricky part, okay? So it's usually going to be the center that's going to bake last. So don't be afraid to bust that crust if there is one, and kind of like even stick your little paring knife in there or something. And make sure that you're not pulling out any liquid, okay? You got to make sure that all that liquid is done all the way through, okay? And then take it out, let it cool. You could eat it that day at room temp, or like I said, a little bit warm is really good too. The only other thing I wanted to kind of show you was like cutting a pie. Not the easiest thing to keep the crust intact, okay? I struggle with that too. When I was working in the hotels, we would have maybe a big party, 500 people, and they want apple pie or pecan pie, okay? And we'd be cutting it, and the crust would fall, and the crust would fall, and then you put it on the plate, and it doesn't look that nice. Me personally, pie is something that everybody can make, even grandma, your aunt, your dad, anybody, okay? And if the crust breaks up, it's not the end of the world. To me, it just says that, like, you know what? Someone made it with their own hands, love from their heart, with hopefully fresh ingredients, and maybe it's not perfect, but it really tastes good, okay? So lots of times I might freeze the pie and cut them frozen, and I can get a really nice cut on it. So nice serrated knife, very sharp edges. And then I found one of these, another kind of a serrated knife that has kind of this pointy edge, and sometimes I can kind of get into the part where the pie goes down and make sure that it's cut all the way through, okay? So sometimes if you want to take the pie out of the... So then when I go to cut, I want to utilize this knife to my advantage. Sharp knife, okay? I want to kind of get at the front and kind of go through that crust, and then kind of come through the middle, get to the back crust, and then through, okay? So I'm going to kind of start up here, kind of go through. I'm kind of to the bottom, so I know I went through the side. I'm touching to the back here, go through, and down. Okay. And you can see again, beautiful custard, all those blueberries in there, and you kind of keep going from there. So how many pieces do you cut? I try to keep it, if I have, people helping me, hey, it's going to be a big piece of pie. Then I would probably cut it in half, and get 8 pieces. It's a nice, okay? If you got some big eaters, maybe you go 6, okay? They could always take a second piece. So we would continue to cut that. And then if you wanted to dress it up a little bit, okay? So I'm just going to warm this up here. I took some extra blueberries I had, okay? Got a few more over here. I'll use these all up. Put them in there. I just took a little water, a little sugar. Again, if you wanted to put a little vanilla bean or something like that, that's fine. A little lemon juice. Lemon juice always kind of brings out a lot of that flavor of that fruit. Gives it a little perkiness, brightens it up a little bit. And of course, one little seed has to pop in there. And we used to call these blistered blueberries. It just sounds kind of interesting and a little bit more exciting. So if we were going to plate this up, basic piece of pie on a plate. People are not going to complain, right? If I want to get a little bit more like, ooh, pie and ice cream. Gives you another reason to have ice cream, huh? So what kind of ice cream would go with blueberry brown butter pie? Vanilla. We try to teach the students, how to pair food up. What goes good with a blueberry? Instead of them just saying, I think I'm going to put, I don't know, banana ice cream with that. Like, well, bananas and blueberries. Like, yeah, maybe, but there's probably a better one to do besides that, okay? So we're going to be making ice cream pretty soon in class, okay? There's also a class just on that, okay? Frozen desserts. Chef Andy does one with where he teaches you how to make some delicious ice creams, okay? So in my class, we made a blueberry ice cream. So let me get one of those. We'll finish this off. We'll put a little... This is what we call a quenelle of ice cream. We're getting kind of fancy here. Instead of just a scoop, we show the students how to take the spoons, and there's a couple different ways of doing that. It just gives it a little bit different look, a little bit more sleek maybe. Tastes the same though. Okay, so, all right. There we got some nice blistered blueberries, okay? And again, just adds a little extra. And then you can kind of take this and kind of spoon that over there. And then maybe a little bit of little powdered sugar on there. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dig into that baby. That looks delicious. Okay? So, to kind of wrap up, okay? Again, come on down for lunch, dinner, a couple more weeks left. Come see us. Fall registration starting in, I believe it's this coming Monday we start up with that. But if you just need information, you're not sure, call. I'm one of the advisors. You can talk to me if you want. A couple other of the chefs will be more than happy to talk about the classes, the program, and what are your options. And don't feel like oh, I haven't been to school in a long time. That's okay. We have students here of all different ages. I have students that, you know what, I'm retired, I just want to learn how to bake a little bit better. And I have students come in and they take a bread class on a Wednesday for 8 weeks, and then they're like, oh, I really like that. Now I'm going to do the whole thing. So they do the whole course, 16 weeks making bread, making desserts, pie and tart class, cookie class, whatever it might be. Okay? Come on out, we'll take care of you, show you some new things, bring them back home, feed the family. Hopefully they don't get mad if they gain a few pounds, though. Okay? So, good talking with you guys. We'll be back again with some more beautiful desserts and more cooking. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.